Hello everyone, welcome to Helix Plays Games. My name is Richie and joining me this week is Mr. Rob.
Hello.
No Chris this week again because he is still on paternity leave, enjoying his beautiful baby girl. But we've got a great show lined up for you this week where we'll be talking about the Valheim console edition and how it compares to the PC version, Game Pass dominating the Steam charts, and Redfall has dropped a story trailer. All that and much, much more in this week's XPass. But before we get into it, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel or your podcast feed of choice with notifications kept on so you're kept in the loop of all our great content here at Helix Plays Games, such as Talking the PS, where we break down all the PlayStation and gaming news in the digital cloud for you on YouTube and podcast services every single Tuesday. Clickercast, we have recently wrapped up. I think we've wrapped up that show now for the season. 9 episodes. We haven't decided whether we'll do attempts, so keep an eye on our socials to see if we do attempt to wrap up the entire season. But that rounded up every episode by episode. The HBO's The Last of Us. So if you're still watching it, watch the episode, watch the Clickercast. It's great content. And last week, our live stream for you was on a Friday, which I think for the next few weeks, it's probably going to continue being a Friday rather than a Thursday. And Rob and I played Valheim, which we'll talk about when we get to the Valheim story in the show. But Rob, have you been playing anything interesting other than Valheim?
For me, the only other thing has been the Resident Evil 4 demo, which for a 15-minute demo, I've sunk probably far too much time into, if I'm going to be honest.
Is it only 15 minutes?
Well, it's this will mean nothing to you, but for anybody who's played it, it's the initial kind of village scene, and it stops when all like the kind of villagers get kind of pulled into the church. So as soon as like that's done, it's really depending on how fast you get through that part of the game. But because I'm quite familiar with it, I kind of skimmed through a lot of it. So yeah, that's been my gaming career this week, I guess.
Just playing 15 minutes of Resident Evil 4 on repeat.
Well, the thing is, okay, so there's like, for me, it's really interesting to see what different mechanics are at play compared to the original, because there's certain elements of that that level where you can cheese it and kind of like break the mechanics a little bit when you know what to do.
Yeah.
And they've kind of fixed a lot of those, so it's good to kind of try and find new ones, I guess. So that's what I've been doing. But highly rated. We talk about it more on Talking to PS.
Yep, and you'll be live streaming it on Friday. So
Friday,
you'll find out even more then.
We'll be live streaming the game on release as well.
Yeah,
which
actually comes out Friday?
I think it is, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. That's good. No, I don't have the date. I know it's like next week, but I just don't have the dates in front of me. That's all.
Yeah, maybe the day before, but it's definitely going to be a very timely live stream, so tune in for that. What have you been playing, Richie?
Valheim and Hogwarts Legacy, pretty much, and FIFA's just continuous though. But yeah, I'm trying to wrap up Hogwarts Legacy soon. I'm just finding time to just do a bit of polishing in the overworld, getting things like ticked off before I push that last push to finish off the story. Any quests that I still want to do and that sort of stuff. There was entire towns I just hadn't visited yet.
Yeah, so you just like skim over them on your broom.
Yeah, there's a quest that I'll go and do that, and while I'm there I'll do a few mail and trials and stuff as you go. But yeah, I'm hoping to have that done not much longer, because I do really want to get into Octopath, because I've owned the game now for a couple of weeks and I haven't played a minute of it yet.
Yeah,
apart from like demo. Yeah. This is
gaming life when you're in your 30s.
Yeah, and then obviously Valheim just took up all my time this morning. So and last night.
Yeah, in the past kind of, let's say 24 hours, how much Valheim have you played?
We played about 2.5 hours on stream.
Mm-hmm.
I think I played about maybe 4 hours on my own today.
Yeah, I'm not far away from that either. So
yeah,
it's definitely hooked us both.
That's an estimate, but I think it's probably around in that ballpark. So probably in the 5 to 7 hours sort of, within the 24-hour period.
Yeah, it makes sense why it's a stream, like a good streamer game.
Oh yeah, it's actually we'll get straight into the news actually.
Yeah.
So Rob, would you like to introduce us to the
excellently exuberant, excavated Xbox expose, aka the news? Oh, it's the first time I've messed that one up.
Do you want to go again? I'll let you go again.
No, it's fine. Continue.
Yeah. And as always, our news section is brought to you by our members, which you can join on YouTube for as little as 99p, which gives you early access to some of our shows, custom emojis to use in the live chat. So you can use our custom emojis when you tune Rob on as he fights through hordes of infected on Friday and Resident Evil. We'll start with Valheim since we keep talking about it. So Valheim, it's out on Xbox. It's part of Game Pass. So if you have Game Pass, you'll have it. You can get it on console and on PC. So first of all, I played it on console. You played it on PC.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about Valheim, Rob.
Okay, so this was such a sleeper kind of game for me. So I knew it existed, but there's lots of games in that kind of open world, indie survival kind of space, and this would have been one that I completely missed. And truth be told, going into like yesterday's live stream, I had no enthusiasm about the game itself until about 15 minutes into the game, and I was like, okay, this is getting me now. This is hooked.
We were both in the kind of same mind frame going through. We picked Valheim because as both of us have like 1 foot kind of in the PC space. You more so than me nowadays, but I've always had that being a bit of a PC gamer throughout the years. So I kept hearing about Valheim, hearing about it's like, okay, it's an open world survival game based on Vikings, Norse like culture and sort of stuff. Like, sounds cool. Not for me. It's like when it came to Game Pass, it's like, this seems like a good game to try out on Game Pass. Mm-hmm. Again, I don't think I would have went for it. And like all survival games, it kind of got its hooks in me a bit. Like, So I have a weird love-hate relationship with survival games. I really enjoy them. I kind of enjoy going in that world, figuring out the mechanics, building like a structure. I like to build an awesome tower. It's got to be a tower. And then kind of just like, but then you realise you've been sat there for 4 hours and like, I haven't done anything. It's like, and because there's no end to the games, effectively. They just, that's where it's like kind of like, do I want to get sucked into this anymore? And I usually go, no, I don't have enough time. There's other stuff I want to do. There's other games I want to be playing. Let's not get sucked into it. So I'm allowing a little bit of time for Valheim to get teeth into me.
Yeah. I mean, the crazy thing is I have no idea how big this game is, and I'm like 8 hours in. Well, I call it 8 for the sake of argument. Like, I'll be there by the end of the week, I imagine. But I have no idea I've discovered two different biomes. So there's like the dark forest and there's a mountain area.
And you start off in the meadows, so there's 3.
Yeah. So 3 in total. I have no idea how big the map is. I have no idea if there's like an overarching kind of narrative or kind of like a loose narrative.
There is the bosses which we tried to fight one on stream and did not go well.
No, that went terribly.
There's a handful of them. I think that is basically the limits of narrative, but it's not a narrative-driven game. It's a mechanic-driven game. It's like it's procedurally generated, which means that you could just keep launching new seeds and exploring the world again.
Yeah, but I haven't even discovered mining yet or anything like that. So it's such a deep game, and it just gets its hooks into you. How did you find to play like the console kind of controls on it?
Building mechanics sometimes were a bit finicky because on the console it's got that kind of like snap-on kind of like grid system, so you're using analog stick, and sometimes when you're like trying to, especially like the floor tiles, kind of getting them snapped together nice, could be a bit finicky, but I don't think there is a better way of doing that, and it wasn't too bad. On my own save that I started a fresh save this morning. I built a bridge that was a bit of a pain to build, to get that to extended run of single floor tiles to snap on while trying to wade through water, and then because the water actually has wave mechanics. Suddenly you're floating. It's damn it, I'm swimming now. It's I can't place the tile. I'd imagine that's easier on PC.
Yeah, well, it's just the kind of the FPS thing, right? You get you so naturally can point a mouse better than you can point a controller. That's never going to change.
I might try on PC. I think it has cross save.
It does, yeah. So how was the the tool selection for you? Because obviously with PC there was the just numbered keys, which is very, very easy. Is it a wheel or something? Or
that's going to be slicker on PC. On console, it's use your D-pad. You have on the top. I'm guessing on the PC version, on top of your screen, on the top left, you got the different icons. And I'm guessing that's where how they're numbered. Probably what is it, 1 through 0?
Yeah.
It's the same. Probably it's the same UI. The difference is I'm using my D-pad to scroll through them, and you press up on the D-pad to select one.
Okay.
Which is actually a bit of a deterrent sometimes if I'm trying to build something and get attacked, I then have to close the build menu, then select my weapon. It's that where I can imagine on PC just press 2, and now suddenly I've got my spear out or something.
Yeah. So that seems a bit easier. But
well, it's
overall,
not too bad.
Overall's good for console?
Yeah, overall I had no real problems getting to grips with the mechanics on it. It does become quite intuitive quite quickly.
Which is nice for a title like this, because a lot of the open world survival games have really kind of gone wrong on the console ports. 7 Days to Die is the key example. That was a terrible port. And a game its early alpha stage as well, which made no sense.
Well, I think part of that is Microsoft themselves had a desire to have Valheim on Xbox, which probably helped a lot when it's Microsoft approaching the Valheim devs. We want your game on our console. That's probably a lot easier to get a good working port in a way that kind of makes sense in terms of things like the resources and the experience that Microsoft would be able to provide them, compared to if you're just a small indie developer who suddenly goes, I'm going to try and put this on Xbox.
Yeah, no, that's completely fair. So I'm really happy to see that a game that has really solid legs on PC being so seamlessly kind of brought across to console, which is the entire the core premise of Game Pass is, and this Game Anywhere proposition is to make that as seamless as possible, and it sounds like they've done a very good job of it for Valheim. Yeah,
it seems to be in a weird situation where I don't think this is actually a console exclusive. I don't think there's nothing confirmed that there's any sort of exclusivity. But the devs are also not looking to bring it to any other platforms at the moment. I think because it's Microsoft who wanted it. Microsoft may have paid for help fund the port and it's on Game Pass and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, let's be real. If Microsoft come knocking at your door for a briefcase of money and can you do this, please? There's...
as an indie developer, imagine you've made a game. There's probably a small... I don't know how big the Valheim team is. It's a small team. And then suddenly one of the biggest corporations in the world comes knocking and goes, guys, we love your game. Can we have it on our platform? You must be is this for real? Are you actually Phil Spencer? Are you that?
Yeah, it's 5 people, a developing team.
Yeah, I mean, they've probably been absolutely stoked with how well it was received on PC, on Steam.
Yeah.
And then suddenly Microsoft's knocking on the door. It's got bigger. It's got bigger again.
So the crazy thing is, I'm looking at a thing from... bear in mind, it's a 10-month-old article, but apparently they've stayed a 5-man team despite selling 7.9 million copies of the game.
I'm not surprised. I'm not actually surprised by that, because I mean, you run businesses yourself. Like, if they're just currently supporting on Valheim, not really working on a new project, what do they need more people for?
Yeah,
if they're not feeling overworked or anything, they've built this game as a team. They've got the money's coming in from it. Unless they want, I think what you'll probably see is when they go, right, we're going to start working on our next project once like we stop supporting Valheim. That might be where you see the scale up in the team.
Yeah, that's fair. But God, for 5 people, from what I've been as well, like a bit in the spare time, it's a hell of an achievement. So hats off to those guys.
I'm guessing it's no longer in their spare time.
Yeah,
Valheim is definitely a success story. Like,
yeah,
and again, it's on Game Pass, so if you haven't already, it's definitely worth trying out. It's kind of that kind of zen. It's quite relaxing. Weird to say for a survival game.
Yeah.
But
me and you were talking earlier when we were saying it might be a game that we revisit on live streams when we need like a relaxing time.
Yeah. It's not a hardcore survival game. It's not like, oh, you haven't ate in 10 minutes and now your character's starving to death. There is like there isn't really hunger mechanics. Food, when you eat food, it boosts your stamina and your max health and restores health.
There's never a slog to it, is there?
But yeah, so you don't get, which I think might be one of the reasons why it's so popular, because you don't get to that point where you're like, oh, I can't go do the thing I wanted to do because now I need to go hunt some boars for some food because otherwise my character will starve, and then them sort of mechanics can really slow your progress a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I am a fan of like the more hardcore survival games, but they do take a toll on you. So I played Project Zomboid, and that's a game where like if you die, like your entire character resets, and I got killed once because I looted a digital watch off somebody and didn't check that they'd set an alarm on the watch. So the alarm went off and then zombies got attracted to me and then killed me because of that. Like, sometimes I don't want that type of stress, and that's when Valheim is perfect.
Indeed. Definitely glad I tried it out. I reckon I'll probably play another handful of hours, which actually I am intending to play more tonight. And I think tonight might be where I just draw the line on it and like otherwise I'll never get to Octopath. But moving on, staying in the PC area at the moment, Game Pass is currently dominating the Steam wishlist charts. And by that I mean literally in the top 10 games on the current Steam wishlist chart, 5 of them are coming to Game Pass.
Yeah, it's good, right? Like,
probably not for Valve.
Oh no,
because PC Game Pass.
True.
And these the 5 we're talking about are Starfield. In fact, I'll go through the top 10 as it stands. So Starfield is one of them coming to Game Pass. Dark and Darker. Party Animals is in number 3 coming to Game Pass. Hollow Knight Silksong coming to Game Pass. Manor Lords. Stalker 2 coming to Game Pass. Frostpunk 2. The Last of Us Part 1. So Sony getting in there a bit. Ark 2. Xbox Game Pass. And Hades 2.
Like, it just shows the strength of, like, I know we've kind of been not particularly nice on Microsoft's kind of release calendar and like the point where they've got to so far, but when you see stuff like this, it does kind of really show what they have kind of bubbling up in like under the surface. And I think that's the key takeaway here for me.
The thing for me as well, I'm looking at this and goes, these are very different games.
Yeah. So
Starfield it's your Bethesda open world. It's Skyrim in space. Mm-hmm. Party Animals is like a gang beast kind of party style game. Hollow Knight Silksong is kind of an indie, the sequel to an indie darling, like Metroidvania style. Don't know much about Stalker 2. Ark 2 is like the follow up to Ark Survival Evolved. So Stalker 2 is it's a shooter, first person shooter in Unreal 5. Yeah, it looks pretty cool. A post-apocalyptic wasteland, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think this really talks to the the depth that Game Pass has.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, like with PlayStation Plus, you get certain you do get some big titles on there, but you get nowhere near the depth that you get on Xbox Game Pass. And I think that is just down to everyone, like, a lot of people will say, oh, like, you get, like, lots of chaff on Game Pass. But
you do on PlayStation Plus as well, though, with the new way it's set up. Like, especially, like, premium and stuff, there's a lot of crap.
Yeah,
comes,
but
there's also a lot of awesome stuff, and there's a lot of hidden gems, and, like...
Yeah, exactly. And as I say, like, with, like, 5 of the top 10 anticipated titles, it really kind of shows you, like, the broad depth that this kind of service has, which... For not a lot of money as well, that's the key thing. It's like if you wanted 2 of these titles in the next couple of months, that's already like significantly more than you'd be paying on for the actual games themselves.
Yeah, I mean Starfield especially is going to be like top probably £60-70 game. I think I'd expect, I don't know, a Hollow Knight probably going. I reckon that's going to be in the high end for indies, maybe in the 30-40s. Stalker 2 is probably going to be up there. Ark's probably going to be quite up there. Party Animals is probably going to be a bit cheaper, I'd imagine, but you're probably talking a couple £100 worth of games in them top 5.
Yeah. And you get them all for, I can't remember what the actual cost is now, but not a lot.
Yeah, exactly. It's just... It was a weird kind of like interesting like win in some ways. And that's before you're looking into other things like Redfall and like Forza and all the other stuff you get with Game Pass as well. But it was just kind of surprising. Like actually, half of the Steam wishlist is like you could just get for Game Pass.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah. But let's move on to a game which is kind of owned by Xbox, but is still, as it stands, a PlayStation exclusive. Ghostwire Tokyo. So we finally have a release date when it comes to Game Pass, and it will be out on April the 12th. So just under a month to wait till you can get your hands on Ghostwire Tokyo, Xbox fans. Any thoughts on Ghostwire Tokyo, Rob?
Like, I kind of passed it by on PlayStation, and because I'm kind of so precious with my gaming time and what I can spend it on, anything like that looked to me like a bit of a maybe was something that would just get completely missed by. But if it's coming to Game Pass, if it's, there's a bit of downtime, I might just jump into it and see what I feel.
I do need to give myself a slight correction here. I keep doing this. It's like when any game studio like Tango Gameworks, who makes Ghostwire Tokyo, and like Arcane, who's making Redfall, is owned by ZeniMax, I always call them Bethesda games, and then technically not. I made this mistake last week, but they're owned by ZeniMax, who owns Bethesda, so they're owned by the same parent company.
Like umbrella, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah.
So what do you think? Are you picking this up, or?
I have heard good things, and I think it does look cool, but I don't know what it is about like Bethesda games for me at the moment. Like they're just
someone's in the comments already. Just
I don't know what it is about them. They just don't draw me in the way they used to. I think it feels like a long time since Skyrim now, and I know this is probably nothing like Skyrim, but I think I've just moved on from them as being one of my favourite publishers. Like,
yeah. Maybe this is one for Chris, because I know Chris was interested in this, wasn't he? Yeah.
Although Chris is more of a third-person game, this is a first-person game.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it looks cool. I bet it's really, really fun, but I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it. It feels like a game that I'd have great fun for, like, an evening and then just not go back to. But I'm looking forward to it. I'll probably jump in April, depending what else I'm playing at the time, but... might even do it on a stream or something, but I still promise people that I will one day stream Elden Ring.
One day.
Yeah. Metacritic scores on it was 75 for PlayStation. Like most people, it's fine. It's just one of them games. I think it just came out. It's a perfectly decent game, but it's not going to set the world alight. But you know what might set the world alight, Rob?
What?
Diablo.
Diablo.
We have details on the Diablo 4 beta.
Will you be testing this out?
Probably not. I typically don't bother with betas. I just don't have really enough time in my life to beta test the game. I personally would rather wait for the final build of a game.
Like, I'm not touching this on principle because of Blizzard Diablo shenanigans. Like, it's not getting touched on me. I can't forgive them for what they did with Immortals. So unless something amazing comes out, I'm not expecting anything from Diablo 4, to be honest. Like, I loved I loved 2 to a less degree, 3, which had its issues, but was still a solid title. I just don't trust Blizzard with this franchise anymore.
For me, I kind of like Diablo in the way of, like, with Diablo 3, I was really looking forward to it, got it, enjoy my time with it, but I'm the guy who plays these games, plays it through to, like, credits, and then goes off and does something else. Mm-hmm. Where these games get into their own when you kind of, with subsequent playthroughs, going up high difficulties, you constantly improving your characters, getting through again that constant cycle through the main game, and then you get, like, post-game content that starts unlocking and stuff. It's like, I just don't care about that crap, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I always get frustrated as well with some of them. I think I played, I can't remember the game. There was a game I played before, and I was having a great time with it, playing through a couple of cycles with it. Then I got to a point where my build all of a sudden just became not viable. And when the games that just kind of go, oh yeah, you can just design your own build, then suddenly a build becomes not viable, I think it's bad game design. And I was like 20, 30 hours in, I'd roll credits a couple of times, so I was getting to higher difficulties. And then suddenly my build was just not usable anymore. I was like, so how I've been developed, how my play style, I have to basically start from scratch. And it's like,
yeah. I mean,
it wasn't Diablo though. That was something else.
At the time of recording this, it is actually live now, and by the time you're listening to this, it will be done. So
there's two. There's the early access, which is from the 17th to the 19th, which is already passed. But there's the open beta is on the 24th to the 26th.
Okay, so I'm going to keep my ear to the ground and see what comes out over the next kind of day or two.
So there's a graphic that they've released. Early access class. I don't know if this links to the. It's kind of hard to tell from the graphic what pertains to just the early access, what might be the open beta, or is the open beta just like the same as early access, just now more open. But you can get 3 playable classes: the rogue, barbarian, sorcerer. There's additional classes listed: necromancer and druid. You can explore the first zone, fractured peaks, experience the story of the prologue and Act 1, playable up to level 25, and you get extra content, Beta Wolf Pack and more at launch, and Ashava, Battle of the World Boss. So, to be fair, it's the entire first act of the game by the sounds of it, so it's, as a beta, it seems fairly substantial. Yeah.
Let's sit tight and wait to see what controversy comes out, because I guarantee people will find something about it.
I for me, it was the auction house. I didn't like the open world auction. I didn't want that. I don't know. For me, I was like, I just don't want this game to be an online game.
Mm-hmm.
That makes complete sense. I enjoy playing it solo. I enjoy playing co-op. I've actually played it through with my brother.
Mm-hmm.
But I had no interest. Bear in mind, this was kind of when I was still hardcore into World of Warcraft. I had no interest in a greater online community for that sort of game.
Yeah. I can get that.
Yeah. But that's just for me. So that's kind of why I'm not particularly that interested. I mean, if it's one of them, if it comes to Game Pass, I might give it a go.
Yeah.
But, so would you give it a go if it comes to Game Pass? Assuming there's no bullshit.
I think I would, because it's inconsequential to me. The only thing is I'm very, very averse to handing this money to this franchise unless something dramatic changes with them.
Bear in mind, I mean, we're going into it probably later in the show. This is going to be part of the Activision-Blizzard King deal.
Mm-hmm.
So there's kind of the prevailing thoughts as a lot of the bullshit that crept into like Blizzard came more from Activision, the higher ups at Activision, and they kind of soured that company as well.
Mm-hmm. I guess time will tell. We just have to wait and see, don't we?
Yeah, let us know in the comments if you're excited to play Diablo 4, or if you're going to jump in the beta. It'd be interesting to see if people enjoyed it. Let's actually talk about Activision Blizzard King since we're kind of on the topic. So we have some news, a couple of different news stories. Actually, I'm just going to link into one here. I think there's 7 companies in the UK have kind of, the 6 companies in the UK have kind of give a thumbs up to the deal out of 7 responses that were asked for. There's also Ubisoft and Boosteroid, the cloud gaming services, have got a 10-year deal, and apparently no talks are going on with Sony. So they're kind of the main beats. So what are your kind of thoughts with how this is now playing out at the moment, Rob?
I think we're reaching the end game of this, aren't we, at the moment? Like, I felt like there was a point where maybe it will, maybe it won't kind of go through. But I think now it's the inevitability, right? So of the 7 companies that were asked about it by, so essentially the UK kind of trade thing kind of asked 7 companies
what they thought. It's a CMA.
Yeah, so the CMA asked like kind of 7 companies what they thought about the deal. Only one of them opposed, but they are kind of
there was 9 companies asked. Right? 9 companies asked, 7 responded, only one opposed. And it's known that PlayStation were the ones that opposed. So it's one of them, I think, by default, this stuff is anonymised, but I think companies are kind of still free to declare it if they wish to.
Yeah, I think obviously all the responses are anonymised, and you won't kind of, unless it leaks, you won't find out who said what. But I think the one key thing I pulled out is this one quote here, which is, "The acquisition will not all of a sudden make Xbox the dominant platform. It's far more likely that it may help to create a level playing field between Xbox and PlayStation, which at this point in time is sorely needed." So the narrative that kind of Sony tried to push, where if effectively Microsoft have made a monopoly, it seems like that's fallen apart. And I think as soon as that's fell apart, the deal's going to kind of progress through.
It's an interesting thing. Like, that participant goes on to say PlayStation needs better competition to force the platform to up its game. I'm not sure I agree with the participant on that one. I mean, if you're looking at services provided, Game Pass is better than PlayStation Plus.
Mm-hmm.
However, first-party titles, I think Sony is still in quite a distant lead in terms of the quality and variety that is provided. Microsoft are catching up.
Yeah, I'd agree. But I think the point of that is, like, the better the competition, the better the other side will push themselves, right?
Yeah, in terms of console sales, Sony dominate.
Yeah. So
I mean, we're putting aside Nintendo out of this conversation. I always like to just put Nintendo off to the side because they feel like they're not going head to head, whereas Microsoft and Sony seem like they are going head to head a bit. They compete for the same people, really.
Yeah, Nintendo are playing a very different game.
Nintendo's, they found that they've created their own niche, which is a really fucking big niche, but they've created it.
Yeah, but like, it feels like, as I said at the beginning, it feels like there's like a slow cascade of things happening, which is going to push this deal through now. It's
the fact that we've kind of commented for the last few weeks about these 10-year deals that are going on. I think this will actually be the deciding thing. Like, Microsoft is 10-year, is a deal for you, and a deal for you, and a deal for you, and a deal for you. And all these companies, Ubisoft, Boosteroid, Nintendo, who else has got Nvidia, all gone, yes, please, yeah, we'll sign that.
Yeah.
it's only seemingly at this point in time that Sony has a problem with it.
Yeah.
And this is why I kind of think this deal will now certainly go through, because if you're a regulator and you're looking at it and going, only one company has a problem with this, and they are currently the biggest players, everyone else is okay with it. Microsoft are giving legally committing to these long-term deals. And bear in mind that a 10-year deal could be negotiated further if Sony wanted to.
So, yeah, it feels like we're turning the corner on this now. And I know, like, a lot of the argument will be that, if it's going to go through, what's the point of, like, creating all this hassle for it to still go through and things like
Stalls
that.
But
But more importantly, it's important that questions like this get asked when, like, a big deal like this does kind of rear its head. I mean, like,
this is the biggest video game purchase that's ever happened by far. Like,
and you do need kind of some oversight and stuff like this. It can't be like a Ron Swanson kind of utopia where these massive businesses just like do what they want, kind of without any oversight.
And to be fair, the conversation kind of just does pivot around Call of Duty, because Call of Duty as an IP is so incredibly strong.
Yeah.
While there is an absolute abundance of military shooters out there, nothing comes close to the sales.
Yeah.
So it absolutely dominates a huge genre in the gaming space. But there again, like PlayStation, our own studios such as Bungie, who have a lot of experience making fantastic shooters.
Yeah.
So there's stuff like that comes into play. But, so it's kind of weird. Like, I do think this will go through. I think if, as the regulators say, if it's only one company that's holding out, and again, I've just pointed at Bungie as a kind of things like, well, they could go, well, you guys have got a deal on the table for 10 years, so it means you've got 10 years to use a company, which the company that brought the world Halo and Destiny to make a shooter that can go head to head.
Yeah, that doesn't seem like
it doesn't feel unrealistic.
Feasible.
Yeah. And again, you have this coming to and the deals that have been offered it's all kind of like it's straight up full parity.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's even like, if you got like, potentially it could even go into PlayStation Plus. Things like that are on the table.
Yeah,
basically, Microsoft will give Sony whatever the hell they want to get this deal over the line.
Yeah, like they've sunk too much into it now. It's going to happen, and I think Sony just needs to get on board and focus on keep doing what they've been doing, which has been good. If Sony were a struggling company and Microsoft trying to do this, it's a different story, but they're not.
You know what the sad thing for me is? It's what could have been with like things like Ubisoft and Boosteroid and Nvidia, cloud gaming platforms, getting a 10-year deal to bring like Call of Duty. Like, what could have happened with Stadia? Because the biggest criticism of Stadia was their ability to get high quality AAA games onto the platform, which meant that the install base completely stagnated, which then made it even harder. I think it probably became a bit of a vicious cycle. We can't get the games because we don't have the players. So then you need to throw a bag of cash to get the games, which you can't just keep throwing endless bags of cash. And Google got to the point where they said no more cash.
Yeah.
But what could have happened is, if Stadia was still a thing, we would have been getting Call of Duty on Stadia.
Yeah, we'll never know. But it would have been a potentially game changer, right?
Yeah, well, it'd be interesting for like Ubisoft and Boosteroid to see like how that plays out, because these are cloud gaming platforms. If you can play like day and date the newest Call of Duties in the cloud, it means you don't have to buy. It goes back to the argument we always had in the early days of the channel about cloud gaming, is it removes the need to buy an expensive box to put under the TV.
Yeah.
And now you're getting Call of Duty, which means you probably get Call of Duty Warzone as well. So probably one of the biggest multiplayer games. It's either that or Fortnite is probably, I'd say, the biggest two multiplayer games in the world right now.
Mm-hmm.
you could get one of them.
Bad timing. I just knew it was never meant to be. Maybe.
Yeah. But that's what could have been. Let's move on to what will be coming, and Atlas Falling. So Atlas Fallen is a gameplay. There's gameplay reveal showing high octane RPG combat. This is the game I forget that exists.
I was just going to say that. Yes, I always forget this is coming as well. Yeah. And like awfully as well. Like the gameplay looks pretty decent.
Really good.
Yeah.
I think Chris and we covered Gamescom's opening night live last year, where this was first announced, and it looked really, really cool. And then I completely forgot about it, and it comes out the 16th of May.
Yeah, I think there could be like a little sleeper hit on our hands here.
Yeah.
Because as you said, I completely forgot it existed until it popped up in our kind of news briefing, if you want to call it that.
Yeah. I think it's because I don't think I've seen anything about the game in terms of like no trailers, no promotional stuff, no even like little tidbits from developers. There's been no conversation about it since Gamescom last year.
Yeah, exactly that.
Which is not necessarily a bad thing, actually.
Not necessarily, not.
Yeah.
And the good thing is they dropped some. It wasn't just like a stylized gameplay trailer either. Like it's pretty like kind of raw footage when you watch the trailer.
Yeah.
So it's definitely piqued my interest a bit more. But again, it's an action fantasy RPG. I
worry this is going to be one of them games that comes and goes. Not many people play it, and then but if they find it comes to like Game Pass or PlayStation Plus in like a year or two's time, people go, "Why didn't I play this? This is awesome!" Like
yeah. But I think if it's a new property and it's not getting the push it needs, then it's at risk of just kind of getting passed over, which from the gameplay looks a bit unfair to do.
Absolutely, yeah. I think it's definitely worth. From what I've seen, I think it's worth checking out. But I don't think it's coming to Game Pass. That's the problem. Game Pass is a problem. Like. It's like, if it's coming to Game Pass, I'd definitely give it a go. Now it's like, do I buy it or not? As I need to think about where I'm at financially, what am I playing at the time. Where if you went to me, right, Richie, this is coming to Game Pass, 16th of May, I'm probably dropping in to have a look.
Yeah, but now you have to ask, is there something vaguely similar I could play on Game Pass? And the answer is probably yes.
Yeah, or it doesn't even have to be something similar. Is it just something I also want to play?
Yeah,
that's the thing, because if there's a game I already have access to that I want to play versus a game I don't have access to and I have to pay for and I want to play.
And it kind of hooks into the narrative, right? Of like, how is this changing the way we weigh up the decision to buy a game? Or like I feel like Game Pass is definitely shifting that in my head.
It's becoming Netflix for games.
Yeah,
it's not there yet, but you might start seeing like. It'd be interesting. I wonder if you could do like a third-party Game Pass thing, where you're going, you know what? We're going to get a group of publishers together. We're going to set up a company. Like you guys can still publish it, and then we'll have this service where if people subscribe to the service to get access to all your games. That isn't Microsoft or Sony. Like it's just a third-party one. There might be space for that in the future. But then
potentially.
But then you could eventually see all them companies consolidate into a single company, and you end up with something like a Ubisoft or Square Enix, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways you have to look back at
Disney could do it.
You have to look at the trend that TV and movie streaming is going on at the moment, where you are seeing the start of that consolidation. So you've got kind of like the Star service in with Disney. You've got Paramount gets bundled in with Prime. And things like that. So there's like the grassroots of this consolidation happening, I think. And the same could go for...
I think if, say, WB or Disney, companies who have one foot in gaming, one foot in like TV, movies and stuff, where to go, and you know what we're going to do? Let's say WB, because of Hogwarts Legacy, outselling Elden Ring. Let's say if they went, right, what we're going to do is for our WB, whatever their streaming services... can't think of off the top of my head. We're going to give you all of the games as well, all the WB games, then people might actually play Suicide Squad.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Like, that seems far too high.
Okay, I think people be less. I'd be less critical of something like Suicide Squad if it was like on the service that I was already paying for other stuff. It's like, oh, rather than seeing this as an attempt to be a AAA game that wants to call my time, it's like another addition to the service I already have.
Yeah.
So it changes the perspective on the game, so it doesn't need to be the same like sort of quality, because there's probably fun moments to have in Suicide Squad.
Yeah,
but when you're asking for 60-70 quid from someone to buy it,
it needs to be a few more than a few good moments, right?
Yeah, it needs to be like on the par with Hogwarts Legacy, or like an Elden Ring, or a Last of Us Part 1 or Part 2. That's where as soon as you're having that like AAA price tag, you are up against them sort of games.
Yeah, and let's be real, it's not going to have that.
Yeah. No, it doesn't look like it at all. But Atlas Fallen seems like it could be really cool, and I hope it finds its audience, and hopefully one day I'll get a chance to play it.
Yeah.
But moving on, let's go to Redfall. The town of Redfall, Rob. So Redfall have dropped a new story trailer. Have you watched the trailer?
I have, yeah. And the thing I've always said on this show is, with Redfall, I wasn't quite sure what it was, and like what was the thing that was going to hook me in. But I think the story trailer does kind of put like some more information out there, maybe enough to get me interested to actually play it.
See, I've got a different take on it actually. It doesn't move the needle in the slightest for me.
No.
It is more information, but none of the information makes me feel like I'm more or less likely to play this game. It's just, so now I know a little bit more. It's
just like random words being pushed to you, basically.
It's fleshing out the setting, but not selling it anymore. Like, but for the record, I think Redfall looks like a really good game that I will play on stream a couple of times.
Yeah.
And then probably not have a touch when off camera.
Yeah,
that doesn't make it a bad game. It's just not the sort of game I typically gravitate towards. And it might be wrong. I felt the same about Valheim.
Yeah, and yeah.
So sometimes you can be wrong, and you go, "Oh, this is not a Richie game." Then go, "Actually, I'm really enjoying this. I want to keep playing."
Yeah.
But look, well, I think I can see this going the same way as well. What our World War Z streams, mine and Chris's, where we jumped in once, we actually had a great time, so we went back and completed the game. We had a handful of different streams.
Yeah,
I can see Redfall being similar.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be this like major jaw-dropping hit that everyone's kind of clamoring to get their hands on. Yeah. But if the player base kind of matures a bit and like it has some legs, I think it will draw more people in. But despite the fact I've got some more kind of flesh on the bones in the story trailer, like I still don't think it's tipped like that threshold which will make me go into it.
I think the game seems a little confused at the moment. And I don't mean the game when you get your hands on it would be like, what on earth is this? I don't get it. This Arcane seem to be trying to distance themselves from the narrative that it's like Left 4 Dead, but then keep showing things that make it look like a Left 4 Dead style game.
Yeah, maybe it's all. What was the?
It feels like the best form that a Left 4 Dead game has achieved.
Yeah,
like it's more fleshed out, more.
It was Back 4 Blood.
Yeah, Back 4 Blood. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe they saw what happened with Back 4 Blood and are like, maybe we should distance ourselves from it a bit, or maybe maybe this is like a struggle on how to identify. In terms of the loose genre, it does feel like to be in that camp. I think there seems to be a bit more focus on the story of the game, but things like Left 4 Dead, Back 4 Blood, there is story in them games, and World War Z, there's story. There seems to be more RPG mechanics, but it does feel that it feels like an evolution of that style of game rather than a different genre in its own right. Yeah.
I don't know, the story stuff just, like, if you... I really... It just doesn't move anything for me. It looks cool.
Yeah. I think maybe for me, I like to be part of, like, the world in a game, and that showed me a bit more of that. But as I said, it's at the moment, like, I'm not at a point where I'm hyped to jump in straight away.
I think what it is for me is it's because I'm looking at this game going, well, actually, mechanically, it's not the sort of game I gravitate towards in my free time, so it means I'm probably going to play on stream. So it's a multiplayer game in my mind. That's how it's going to be best experienced, which makes me instantly less interested in what's going on in the narrative and in the world.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to be having a laugh and joking on stream, talking to chat with you and Chris, rather than focusing in what's going on.
Yeah, true.
Where in something like Hogwarts Legacy, I'm reading all the journal entries and reading everything. I'm getting invested in that world and everything that's going on.
Mm-hmm. I guess this game's a definite wait and see, isn't it? That's the best way I can.
I mean, it's a Game Pass game, so it's wait and see till it drops in Game Pass, and we will certainly be doing a stream of the week of release. Yeah. That's been pretty much locked in since it was announced. So yeah, we will be streaming it when it drops. We won't have that much long to wait because it's May the 2nd, I believe, it comes out.
Well, 6-7 weeks.
Yeah. Let's start wrapping up this show. We got 3 new games announced for Game Pass coming. They are Coffee Talk, Episode 2. So I'll read the description. Open the coffee shop doors and patrons' hearts in a present-day fantastical Seattle where memorable humans, quirky orcs, business-orientated succubi, and other mythological denizens coexist. Customize each requested drink with a mixture of ingredients like tea, ginger, chocolate, mint, and more to make a standout latte they won't soon forget. Become the barista everyone feels comfortable enough to talk to, and lend them a much-needed ear. Interested, Rob?
It's going to be a no from me. I'm not going to be.
It's a no from me, but I can see this being quite like a
Stardew Valley type of.
Yet there might be actually a cult following for this. I can see it absolutely developing one of them as like.
I mean, it got an episode 2, so.
It did. Next one is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So, Texas Chainsaw Massacre it's your asymmetric multiplayer game. Take on the role of one of the notorious Slaughter family or their victims in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, a third-person asymmetric horror experience based on the groundbreaking and iconic 1974 horror film. Experience the mad and macabre for yourself in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Asymmetric is like is it Dead by Daylight?
Yeah, it's essentially Dead by Daylight with
a different IP.
Yeah, a much weaker IP as well.
Yeah, there'd be a community for this.
Yeah, I imagine so.
And it's a Game Pass game. Comes in August though. If this was October, that's a Halloween stream right there. And the last one is Dead Static Drive. Take on the role of one of the notorious... the article's doubled up. Sorry, the article I was reading from has doubled up, so I need to find the description elsewhere. Just bear with me, everyone. I find it. Grand Theft Cthulhu. Dead Static Drive is a horror survival adventure. You're on the road. The world begins to fall apart in front of you. Your friendships will make every bit of difference as order collapses and the people you meet fight for their own survival.
So I love the look of this game.
Yeah.
It looks really, really interesting. I love the art style. It's like an isometric mostly game as well. It just looks really fun. Yeah. And some of the monsters you see in the trailer, yeah, I just want to play this.
Yeah. It'll just look cool. Like,
yeah, it's definitely going to be fun.
I'm with you. I think I might actually I think I'm expecting it's a smaller title. I mean, I love sometimes just looking at the tags on Steam. It's like it's indie, action, adventure, violent, and Lovecraftian. It's the weird. Yeah, Lovecraftian is a Steam tag.
Yeah. No.
So if you're looking for Lovecraftian games,
definitely gets my seal of approval from the trailer.
Yeah. So that will be. The date isn't announced, but it'll be Q3 2024. So it's still a way out. But nice to see more games come to Game Pass and hearing about them. Let's move on. A few stories. I'm going to sandwich these two stories together. Civilization 6 and Anno 1800 are both out now on Game Pass. No, they're both out. Civs is on Game Pass. Anno is on Ubisoft Plus.
Both fantastic games if you're into more kind of strategy-based things. Obviously, Civ 6 needs no introduction. Anno 1800.
And it's console editions as well, just to clarify,
Like, Anno 1800 is like a really nice city builder.
Yeah.
So if those kind of appeal to you, definitely check them out.
I've always fancied trying out an Anno game, but I've never... I just never have. I've never got round to it. I've had them installed before when I've had like Ubisoft. Is it Ubisoft Plus? It's Ubisoft Plus, isn't it? It's a subscription.
Yeah, I want to say so. Yeah.
Yeah. When I've had it, I've just never got round to playing. I have generally installed this game before on PC and just never sat down to play.
Yeah, there's a bit of a learning curve to it, but once you kind of get over that, it's really good.
The is with any of these sort of like turn-based, like these kind of city builder simulation games, like they all have a bit of a learning curve.
Yeah,
but I think I might next time I've got Ubisoft Plus, probably when Assassin's Creed Mirage comes out, maybe somewhere around there. I don't know if I'll play it. I'm not probably going to be playing that day one, I don't think, unless I've got nothing on. But I think that... Oh, actually, last story of the week, we have news on the Hyperkin 360 controller, which is the remake of the 360 controller for modern consoles. We have a date for that. It will be out in June the 6th, and it will be $49.99 US. So if you want to play Xbox Series with a 360 controller, you've got a few months to wait, and then you can.
Huzzah.
Yeah. I mean, I actually do really like the 360 controller. I've got two in the drawer that I used to use all the time for PC. They've since been retired.
There's an argument it's probably like one of the best non-Sony controllers.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's aged a bit though when you look at it. Like
I think the Xbox controller hasn't really shifted since this. It's changing the ergonomics. Maybe some of the feature sets being improved, like the quality of the triggers and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But effectively, the button layout is almost exactly the same.
Yeah.
And has been for generations at this point. So it kind of cemented what the modern controller is, which is why pretty much like the Stadia controller, even the PlayStation controller, it's one of them controllers that does have a legacy beyond the console itself.
Yeah, I'd agree. But yeah, check that out if you're a big 360 fan.
And for a long time, it was the best PC controller.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Just for the simplicity of connection as well.
For the simplicity of connection, its compatibility with Windows when that wasn't a given for Sony's controllers. The fact that it was actually reasonably inexpensive compared to how expensive controllers are now. Because I used to have them because I used to play FIFA on PC, so I wanted a controller for that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. But that is all we have for you this week. If you've liked the video, make sure you hit that like button and consider becoming a member for as little as 99p. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel or your podcast feed with notifications switched on. We also have a Discord server, so if you want to join the discussion even further, There is a link in the description below. I think I might set up a new Discord channel for Valheim, actually, Rob.
Really? Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, it's like, so, because we do have some game-specific channels, and I think that one could be quite useful. So if you can share your seeds, share like passcodes, so if you want to join in with some like-minded players, you can. We like to make things easy for you to do that. But that's all we have for you. My name's been Richie.
And I've been Rob.
We'll see you later. Goodbye.
Goodbye.